you have something called the thoracic cage, or the bony thorax. And this is composed of the thoracic vertebrae dorsally, the ribs laterally, and then the sternum and the costal cartilages to the anterior. The function here is to provide a protective cage around the heart, lungs, and then the great blood vessels, the big ones that come out of your heart. Also there to support the shoulder girdles and the upper limbs. This provides attachment for many of your neck, back, chest, and shoulder muscles. And then the intercostal muscles are there to lift and depress the thorax during breathing. So while we're here, let's look at the sternum. There's your sternum down the middle here. They say it's dagger-shaped. It's a flat bone. It lies to the anterior midline of the thorax. It's actually the result of three bones fusing together. We have the manubrium right here at the top. We have the body going down, and then we have the xiphoid process at the bottom. There are some other landmarks that you're going to find within this. Sorry, I had a cord in the way. You have other landmarks, like the jugular notch up top here. Honestly, I'm not going to hold you to any of the landmarks. As long as you know the three parts of the sternum, I'm usually pretty happy with that. While we're here, I want to go ahead and look at the ribs, and we've got some other pictures of ribs here. We can go through and look at them this way and this way and this way, but I want to go back to, this is the picture I like. You have 12 pair of ribs forming the flaring sides of the thoracic cage. Excuse me. Remember that you had 12 thoracic vertebrae. So that's an easy way to remember how many ribs you have. It's the same number of thoracic vertebrae. And remember our vertebrae, we eat breakfast at 7, we eat lunch at 12, we eat dinner at 5. So 7 cervicals, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar. So 12 pairs of ribs. They all attach posteriorly to the thoracic vertebrae. The superior 7 pair, these are your true ribs. They're also known as vertebrosternal ribs, and they attach directly to the sternum via the costal cartilage. That's what makes them true ribs. You can see how they, there's my pointer, they come around and they attach directly. So take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is 7. Even though we have some molding in here, 7 still directly attaches to the sternum. So that's why number 7 there is still a true rib. After that, we have the rest. 8 through 12 are faults, and actually 8 through 10 are called vertebrochondral ribs. Remember chondrocytes, chondral is cartilage. So they attach indirectly to the sternum via the costal cartilage. And then finally, ribs number 11 and 12, these are floating, or also just known as vertebral ribs, and they have no anterior attachments. Now, there are different parts to the rib. If you want to take the time to learn about the articulating surfaces and the facets on the tubercle, I'm not going to hold you to any of that. To me, if you can get down how many ribs and how many of each, I think that's probably as good as we're going to ask for this anatomy class. So let's jump up to the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton is made up of the bones of the limbs and their girdles. So we have the pectoral girdles. This attaches the upper limbs to the body and the trunk. And we have the pelvic girdles. The pelvic secures the lower limbs. Now, the pectoral girdle consists of the anterior clavicles, your collarbones up here, and then the posterior scapula, your shoulder blades on the back. They attach the upper limbs to this axial skeleton, and this allows for the maximum movement because you get all sorts of movement from your shoulders here. And so they also provide attachment points for the muscles that move these limbs. So now, when it comes to your clavicles, these are slender. There's 2 curves in your clavicles, and they lie across your superior thorax. As far as different parts, we have the acromial, or the lateral end, that attaches out here to the acromial process. And then we have the sternal end that attaches to the sternum. And these provide attachment points for numerous muscles and act as a brace to hold the scapula and the arm out laterally away from the body. We have the scapula or the shoulder blades. These are triangular flat bones that lie on the dorsal surface of the rib cage between the second and the seventh ribs. The scapulas have 3 borders and 3 angles. They're triangle. So there's certain features that we should probably know. I'm going to the posterior side here. I think the spine is the easiest. Remember, this is the back. That helps. And as the spine goes towards your arm, you run into what's called the acromion. The acromion process is out here. In front, we've got the coracoid process. There's my acromion. I'm on the anterior side here. This is the coracoid process. And then we have the glenoid cavity. And this is where the ball of your humerus actually lies. So these are things I want you to know. I want you to know the spine, the acromion, the coracoid, and the glenoid cavity. I don't need you to know any of the borders or any of the others, the angles or things like that, okay? So I'm gonna stop this video here. So the only video we have left then are going to be the appendages. And so that'll be in your next video.